That decision by Mr. Biden, which is going to haunt him, of coming down on the side of the railroad companies against the workers, raises the question again of where the government falls and what workers have to do to make their situation better. What are the people at the forefront? The union activists, the labor activists, the workers, how do they react to something like the decision of the Biden administration to disallow railway workers the right to strike? I mean, there is a clash here of something very fundamental.
Listen, the labor movement and professional labor unions, large-scale institutions, are equally upended by this. Do not think that they're somehow not caught up in it. In fact, they're struggling, Rick, to keep up with the militancy of the masses. And this is important to understand that in the last year, the Bureau of Labor Statistics told us 47 million people left their current employment to do something else. That's 4 times the size of the AFL-CIO. That's a movement of humanity you can see from space. And so these institutions are struggling to be relevant because often they fell down on the job in protecting their members. And so we have at the same time an internal struggle within these unions who are having problems with gender diversity, with racial inclusion before the pandemic. Now they're trying to come up with a plan B. And so we're seeing ascendancies of people, say, like Sarah Nelson, CWA flight attendant, who tend to be a bit to the left, more militant, who talked about a general strike during the Trump administration shutdown of the federal government. Mary Kay Henry, SEIU, committed to trying to get involved with workers outside the union movement to bring and create a greater union movement. That's happening at the same time. Now, when you talk about this rail strike, it's important to understand that there's around 120,000 rail workers. Something called the Railway Workers United came together, which is a consortium of 12 different crafts. I was a former Erie Lackawanna crew caller. I come from a railroad family. We suffered from having this craft division because it takes a lot of different skills to keep a train running, steel on steel. And so, but there's been a thing that came together out of the pandemic where everybody all of a sudden said, wait a minute, we're essential workers on call 24/7. What a lot of Americans don't realize is that in the 1980s, we had 47 Class 1 railroads. Today, we have 7. We have now replicated the very robber baron circumstances of monopoly and avarice that were on this earth at the time of the Triangle Fire. And in that period of time, what Wall Street has done is that took over the railroads, laid off about 30% of the workforce, and reaped like $120 billion over the same period, and are driving that workforce into the ground where they're denying them basic sick time. And that is something that Biden did with the election looming, did this high-profile Capra-esque, we've saved the day, and it was time so that the details became apparent after the election, that they had had this pay hike, but did not include this paid sick time. And so immediately when this became clear, because there was supposed to be a strike in December, in the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, 28,000 National Union, they deposed the longtime incumbent almost overnight, gone, with somebody who had really come from nowhere, but came from a more militant sensibility. So that's the kind of pressure, and we're just talking about the railroads.
So you think that something is underway that is going to continue? In other words, we're going to see a continuation of these kinds of challenges to the rather cozy, let's call it quiet, that existed in the labor movement in relationship to the employers before. They're trying to come up with every way to stop the unions, stop the strikes, penalize the workers, penalize the strikers, prevent the strikers. You know, this coming together of government and business to stop the labor movement, we used to call that fascistic. and maybe we should again.